everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Lottie. Everything here is made with a Lottie love. Today is another scrap buster. Let's get crafting. So idea number one, I'm going to use the 1/2 inch strips first. So I'm going to move these to one side. I've got my 5x7 card topper. And I'm going to get strips that are long enough to go around the long edge. Perfect. Then a couple of shorter ones and we'll trim as needed. Okay, so I'm now going to get a little cutting mat and a scoring tool, and I'm just going to make random circles around here. And then some squiggly lines. Just completely random, but it's not that random because you'll see what it is I've done in a minute. Okay, so then I'm going to get my Distress Inks Vintage Photo and Walnut Stain. So Vintage Photo first. And I'm just going to make sure that the edges, just by rubbing across like this, they get darker. I want that look. Okay, and then again I'm going to bring in another topper, get my walnut stain, and again it's darker, so just randomly around, and there you've got something that resembles a wood panel. So I'm going to do that 4 times. Okay, so now those are trimmed down. I want to make sure that I cut at an angle. Let me do this so that you can see better actually. So I'm going to keep my angles exactly the same by making sure the ruler goes across this inch square, and I'm going to cut that top corner down. So I'm going to cut the bottom just the same at the other angle, so keeping that within the box and trimming that down. So it will look like that. So then I want this one angled this way. And you can kind of see what I'm doing here. And I want this one across this way. Stay. And I want this one this way, and this one this way. This one this way. And this one. Oops. Ooh. Careful with your knives. This way. So I'm now just going to use some double-sided tape, trim that down. And stick that to the card base. And because you cut all of them at the same angle, that should mean that you can just stick your tape down on the cuts. Oh no, what happened there? We have a slight misangle there. Uh-oh. But no problem. Everything in craft can be fixed. Okay, so the photo frame's definitely not perfect, but it's used up some scraps and it looks quite nice. So here I've got a piece of cardstock which I have embossed with hearts. It was a 6x4 piece of cardstock and I've trimmed that down just to fit inside the frame. And I'm bringing in my distress ink and I am just going to buffer up these edges just to add a bit of dimension to the inside of the frame. Just buffering around all these edges. It just makes it look like there's a bit of a shadow when you stick that inside the frame, and really adds to like the definition of the card. Then I'm just going to back this with some double-sided tape using my tape runner, and I'm just going to stick that within the frame. And again, I know no one is actually bothered, but I'm sorry for the state of my nails. I am a busy lady. And then I'm going to bring in a pre-stamped and embossed rose that I made previously. I think I've put that in my short videos. And I'm just going to cover up that corner that's slightly off on the frame. And it will just make this card just a bit more visual for the receiver. And to give it just a bit more pizzazz, I'm going to stick that down with some 3D dots. And just stick that nicely onto that corner. And then I'm just thinking what's next. So I decided on using a wobble card fixture, and I'm bringing in my pre-stamped and coloured girl with flowers in her hair that kind of mould into the rose that I've stuck in the corner of the frame. Again, I've coloured some in for my shorts if you want to have a look at me colouring techniques and things. So I'm just peeling off the back of those stickers, sticking that in the centre, and then I'm going to stick my little girl onto the front here. And look at her wobble, wobble, wobble. I love that. It just, again, makes it a bit more visual, a bit more tactile for the receiver. And, well, it's just a bit of fun, isn't it, to have on your card. And then I am going to stick card topper onto a card base. Again, just using my runner tape for this. I sometimes add a bit of 3D tape to the back of my card toppers, but as this is already 3D on the front and tactile wobbly, you don't want the card too thick, otherwise you won't be able to send it in the post, for one thing. You know, the cost of postage these days is crazy. And I've just got my 5x7 card base here, and I'm just going to stick the framed picture on the front of the card, just like so. And then I found a pre-stamped sentiment that I'm going to stick on with some 3D pads. Just a little sending love sentiment. And there's my video of pre-stamping things to use up scraps as well, which I will link below if I've already done it. Otherwise, I'll link it later. And just slotting that under the rose next to the girl's roses in her hair. It kind of combines it all together. And then I'm bringing in some little heart gems, which again I'll link in the description if you want them. And just choosing a couple. I don't want to go too mad because the embossed background is already quite busy. So I decided on gold hearts to mesh in nicely with the red rose, and brings out the brown in the wooden frame that I've made as well. And one last one to cover up that gap in the frame. And there you have the finished product. Strips of white card made into a wooden frame with all the little detail. Hopefully you can see that in the card. And just a really cute way to use up some white strip cards. I hope that was fun for you. I hope that was inspirational. I hope you have learnt some things, and Thank you for joining me. If you're not a subscriber, please consider joining me on this channel. Hit the notification bell for whenever I post videos, usually Saturday, sometimes more, sometimes less if I'm very busy, but hopefully not so much these days. And as always, I'll see you soon with a Lottie Love.